Night softly descended upon the small seaside village. The silver moonlight fell upon the waves, shimmering gently with each rise and fall. The sea whispered in a steady rhythm, like the slow, deep breathing of the earth itself. Every other sound grew distant, fading away, leaving only silence, silence that felt tender, like a warm blanket wrapped around the night. In a little house covered with ivy, its window always open to the ocean, Elena sat beside a dim golden lamp. Her hair spilled loosely over her shoulders, her face touched by the quiet glow. Before her lay an empty notebook, its blank pages waiting to be filled, yet the pen rested motionless in her hand. Her gaze drifted far away, as though part of her was still wandering within a dream. For Elena had just awoken from something unusual. A dream so sweet that its traces lingered in her heart even now. Since childhood, her dreams had never been like those of others. They were vivid, alive, like other worlds unfolding, where every detail felt real enough to touch. And sometimes within those dreams, there were moments so tender that waking at dawn felt almost like a loss. Tonight, she found herself in a garden overflowing with light. Not the light of day, nor the glow of the moon. It was a warm, gentle radiance, like 1,000 stars dissolving into the air. And there, within the garden, stood a young man waiting. His figure was hazy, like mist, yet his eyes were clear, calm, and deep. With just one look, her heart trembled, as though it had rediscovered something it had long been missing. He did not say much. He only tilted his head, leaving her with a smile, and whispered a single line, words as light as the breeze, yet echoing endlessly within her. Love will find you. Through dreams. The moment he spoke, Elena awoke. Her room was still wrapped in shadows, with only the lamp flickering faintly, but her heart remained restless, glowing with a quiet fire, as if she had just touched something sacred. She sat up, opened her notebook, and with trembling hand wrote the very first line. Tonight, the dream has spoken to me. Of love. Beyond the window, the sea still sang, and the moon still poured its gentle light upon the rooftops, as though all of nature itself was watching. As a journey quietly began, a journey where dreams and love would weave into one. The following night, as the moon rose once more over the quiet village, Elena let herself drift into sleep. The sound of the waves was the last melody she heard, carrying her softly into a realm that felt both distant and close, both mysterious and familiar. In the stillness of her slumber, the garden of light appeared again. It shimmered with the same gentle radiance, neither sunlight nor moonlight, but something altogether its own. The air carried the scent of blossoms she could not name, sweet and calming, like a fragrance remembered from long ago. Every petal seemed to glow from within, as if they were breathing stars, scattered across a place beyond time. And there, just as before, stood the young man. His figure remained delicate like a painting drawn from mist, yet his presence filled the garden with quiet strength. This time he did not stand at a distance. He stepped closer until she could feel the faint warmth that radiated from him, as though the dream itself leaned nearer to her heart. Elena longed to ask who he was. Her lips parted, but no words came. The dream seemed to cradle her voice, letting silence speak instead. And in that silence, she felt his gaze resting gently upon her, steady, patient, and filled with a kindness that made her chest ache. He reached out his hand. Not to touch her, not yet, but to offer her something. In his palm rested a single flower, glowing faintly like crystal. Its petals shimmered between colors, shifting softly from silver to gold, from rose to ivory, as if holding the light of every dawn. Elena hesitated. Her hand trembled as she accepted the flower, and in that moment, the dream brightened. The garden around them breathed more deeply. The stars above stirred like ripples in water, and the air hummed with an unspoken promise. The young man finally spoke. His voice was low, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. This is not only a dream. It is a path. Follow it, and you will find what your heart has been waiting for. Before she could reply, the light of the garden began to fade. The petals in her hand dissolved into the air, scattering like gentle sparks. Her vision blurred and the warmth of the dream slipped away. Elena opened her eyes. The morning sun was spilling through her window, golden and soft, yet her heart still raced. Her fingers, though empty, tingled as though they had truly held the flower. She lay there in silence, listening to the sea, her breath unsteady. And she wondered, was it only a dream? Or was it something more? Something reaching out to her across the veil of sleep? The thought lingered, tender and restless. She pressed her hand against her heart and closed her eyes once more. Even in daylight, she felt it. That love had already begun to speak, quietly, through dreams. Days passed softly, as they always did in the little village by the sea. The mornings were slow, filled with the sound of gulls gliding across the sky, and the afternoons carried the warmth of the sun as it painted the water with silver light. For Elena, life seemed unchanged, yet within her heart something had shifted, like a tide turning quietly beneath the surface. The dream of the garden lingered with her. She carried its memory wherever she went. The glow of the petals, the steady gaze of the young man, the flower that shimmered between colors before dissolving into air. It was only a dream, she told herself again and again. And yet, when she opened her window to the sea, when she walked the winding streets of the village, she felt that the dream was breathing within the world around her. One afternoon, as she wandered along the market square, something caught her eye. A small stall stood in the corner, filled with trinkets and books. Among them lay a single flower pressed between glass, delicate and pale, glowing faintly under the sun. Her breath caught. It looked almost the same as the flower from her dream, the same fragile shape, the same shifting light caught in its veins. Elena reached out, her fingers trembling slightly as they hovered above the glass. It was only coincidence, she whispered to herself. And yet, her heart beat faster, as though the dream had reached across the veil of sleep and left her a sign in the waking world. As she lingered there, she sensed someone standing nearby. Turning, she found herself face to face with a young man she had never seen before. His hair was dark, his expression gentle, and his eyes, deep, steady, and calm, struck her with a quiet familiarity. It was not the exact face from her dream, yet something within him felt uncannily close, as though the essence of that figure had found its reflection here. He offered a polite smile and picked up a small book from the stall. Their eyes met, and in that instant, Elena felt the same trembling she had felt in the Garden of Light. She lowered her gaze quickly, uncertain, her cheeks warming. The man thanked the vendor, his voice low and warm, and as he turned to leave, his eyes brushed past her once more. For a moment, the world around her fell silent, the sound of the market fading, the air pausing, until all that remained was the echo of that glance. When he disappeared into the crowd, Elena stood frozen. Her heart whispered that this meeting was not chance. Like the flower pressed in glass, like the dream that still pulsed within her, it was another sign, a thread pulling her toward something yet unseen. That evening, as the sun melted into the horizon and the waves lapped gently against the shore, Elena returned home. She opened her notebook, lit the golden lamp, and wrote slowly upon the waiting page, "The dream follows me, even when I wake." And today, I think, it smiled at me through a stranger's eyes. She set down her pen, listening to the soft music of the sea, her heart beating with a mix of wonder and quiet fear. For the line between dream and reality had begun to blur, and perhaps, she thought as she closed her eyes, love was already closer than she had dared to imagine. That night, Elena fell asleep with the memory of the day still warm in her heart. The flower pressed under glass, the stranger's gentle eyes, the quiet pulse of something mysterious threading through the waking world. She held it all close, as if it were a secret melody only she could hear, and once again she drifted into the Garden of Light. The air was soft, fragrant with blossoms she could not name, shimmering faintly in the gentle glow. The petals seemed to hum, vibrating with a quiet song, and the stars above twinkled as though keeping time with her breath. The young man stood there again, but this time he carried something in his hands, a small old book, its cover worn, edges frayed, and a faint golden shimmer along its spine. He stepped closer, the light of the garden brushing his face, and offered it to her. "This belongs to you," he said softly. His voice was warm, flowing like the tide, yet steady, as if each word had been waiting a long time to reach her. Elena reached out with trembling fingers. The moment her hand touched the cover, A gentle pulse of warmth spread from the book into her palm, and her heart thumped in quiet wonder. She opened the book carefully. The pages were filled with delicate handwriting, lines of poetry and notes about dreams, love, and the fleeting threads that connect hearts across time. Every sentence resonated with something deep inside her, stirring a memory she could not yet place. The words felt familiar, as if they were echoes of a story she had once read in a faraway life. The young man's gaze held hers. "You have seen me before," he whispered. "In dreams, in moments you cannot explain. This book, it will help you understand." Elena's chest tightened. She felt the pull of something profound, a gentle insistence that she had not only dreamed of him, she had been waiting for him. Or perhaps he had been waiting for her, across the veil of sleep and waking. The garden seemed to shift around them. The petals swirled like soft ribbons of light, and the scent of flowers deepened, filling the air with warmth. Time itself felt suspended, leaving only the two of them and the quiet thrum of a connection that reached beyond reason. Elena looked up from the book. The young man's face was clear now, yet still gentle, as if drawn from mist and memory at once. She wanted to speak, to ask his name, to know why her heart felt so complete in his presence. But the dream held her tongue. Words were unnecessary here. The truth, she realized, existed in the silent pulse between them, in the way the light brushed their hands, in the rhythm of the dream itself. Suddenly the garden began to fade. The glow softened, the petals drifted like falling stars, and the book warmed her lap as the dream prepared to release her. She awoke with the morning sun spilling through her window, the faint scent of blossoms lingering in the air. The book lay on her bedside table. Elena reached for it, her fingers tracing the worn cover. It was as if the dream had followed her into the waking world, leaving behind a bridge she could hold, read, and understand. She opened it again and read, "Love is a thread that moves unseen, connecting hearts even before they know it. Follow it, and you will find what your soul has been waiting for." Elena's breath caught. The dream had returned, yes, but it had brought more than memory. It had brought guidance, a gentle hand leading her toward something she had not yet dared to hope for. And in the quiet of her room, the waves outside whispering, she understood that the path of love had already begun, woven delicately through dreams, waiting for her to follow. Days turned into evenings, painted with the soft hues of the setting sun, and Elena found herself walking along the familiar paths of the village with a gentle anticipation she had never known before. The dream, with its garden of light and the mysterious young man, had left a quiet echo in her heart. And now even the simplest moments in the waking world seemed to hum with a hidden melody. She began noticing subtle signs everywhere, small coincidences that made her heart skip, as if the world itself were guiding her. A stray blossom drifting in the breeze reminded her of the glowing flower from her first dream. The laughter of children running past the fountain echoed like soft bells, carrying a rhythm that felt uncannily familiar. And then there was Adrien. He was the young man she had glimpsed in the market days ago. A painter who had arrived in the village only recently, his presence was quiet yet unmistakable. When their eyes met, Elena felt a shiver of recognition, like meeting a shadow she had long been chasing in dreams. Adrien seemed drawn to the same hidden pulse, the same gentle thread that connected her waking world to the realm of dreams. They began speaking, first casually, exchanging greetings and small observations about the village. But gradually, their conversations deepened, talk of colors, of music, of the strange and fleeting beauty that seemed to exist in corners of the world only those with sensitive hearts could notice. Elena found herself sharing fragments of her dreams, cautiously at first and then with more trust, revealing the garden of light, the young man, and the mysterious book. To her surprise, Adrien nodded as if he understood, his eyes calm yet alight with recognition. "I've dreamed of you too," he admitted one evening, standing by the sea with the golden sunset turning the waves into molten light. "My dreams, they felt like echoes of someone I've known before, someone I've been trying to find." Elena's heart raced. The realization struck her with a quiet, overwhelming force. The dream had been more than a dream. It had been a bridge, a gentle hand stretching across the divide between their souls, pulling them closer even before they knew it. From that moment, reality and dream began to intertwine. Every encounter felt like a continuation of a story that had begun long before this life. A shared smile became a refrain of the laughter she had heard in dreams. A touch on the arm resonated like the brush of petals in the garden. Even the colors of the sunset seemed to mirror the light of the dream, casting the world in shades that felt borrowed from another realm. One evening, as they strolled along the shore, the air heavy with the scent of salt and blossoms, Adrien paused and turned to her. "Do you ever feel that some things are meant to find us?" he asked softly. Elena nodded, feeling the weight and the wonder of the question, and the gentle certainty that they had been searching for each other even before they knew it. The waves whispered at their feet, a steady rhythm that echoed the quiet pulse in her heart. The boundary between dream and waking life had become almost invisible, each moment carrying the shimmer of something more, something tender and eternal. Elena realized then that love was not a sudden flame, but a quiet current flowing beneath the surface, guiding her toward a connection that transcended time and reason. As night fell, the stars began to twinkle in a velvet sky, their light reflected in the gentle waves. Elena and Adrien walked side by side, hands brushing, hearts echoing the same quiet, steady rhythm. She knew that the dream had been only the beginning, a delicate thread leading her into a story that now lived fully in both worlds. And in the stillness of the night, as the sea hummed and the moon poured silver across the village, Elena allowed herself to believe that perhaps, just perhaps, dreams and reality could dance together, and love could be found in the spaces between them. One quiet night, the village lay in a soft slumber, the waves whispering gently against the shore and the moonlight spilling silver across the rooftops. Elena sat by her window, the old book from the dream open in her lap. Her fingers traced the delicate letters, her mind wandering into the garden of light, back to the moments she had shared there with the mysterious young man. As she read, a gentle warmth rose through her chest, like a soft current of wind threading through her soul. Suddenly the room seemed to shimmer, as though the boundary between waking life and the dream world had grown thinner, more fragile. And then she fell asleep again, not with the usual drowsiness, but as though the dream itself had called her, guiding her willingly into its fold. She found herself standing in the garden once more. The blossoms glowed brighter than ever, the air perfumed with their sweet, unearthly fragrance. The stars above swirled in gentle patterns, forming shapes that seemed to tell a story older than time itself. The young man appeared again, yet this time he was not alone. A woman clothed in flowing white stood beside him, her presence serene and luminous. Her eyes, wise and gentle, seemed to look straight into Elena's heart. "Do not fear, child," the woman said softly, her voice like a lullaby drifting on the wind. "You have always known, even if your waking mind has forgotten. The dreams that have carried you, they are the threads of your soul, guiding you toward the love that was never lost." Elena felt her heart tighten. "Love that was never lost?" she whispered. The woman smiled. "Long ago in another time your souls met. You walked together, laughed together, loved together, and yet circumstances pulled you apart. Your hearts remembered, but your lives could not hold the connection. These dreams, these glimpses, are the echoes of that past, bringing you together again." Tears gathered in Elena's eyes, but they were gentle tears, tears of wonder, of longing fulfilled before it had even begun. She looked at the young man, and in his steady gaze she recognized the echo of that long-ago love. It was him. Not a stranger, not merely a dream, but the same soul she had once loved, now returned. The woman in white extended her hand. "Remember this always. The dreams are not only visions. They are guides, threads of your destiny. Follow them and you will find the truth in the waking world." The garden swirled around them, petals rising like gentle fireflies, stars falling softly into the blooms. Elena felt herself enveloped in warmth, in the certainty that no distance, no time, could ever sever the bond between their souls. When she awoke, the moon had dipped low and the soft waves whispered as if sharing a secret. The old book lay open, pages fluttering as if moved by an unseen hand. She touched the pages, feeling the echo of the dream in her fingertips. It was no longer just a vision of love. It was a map, a quiet promise that the hearts meant to find each other always would, even across lifetimes. Elena rose, taking a deep breath. For the first time, she understood completely. Her dreams, her heart, and this young man named Adrien were intertwined by threads invisible yet unbreakable. And in that quiet night, with the world sleeping around her, she allowed herself to believe in the miracle of love that transcends time, space, and even the fragile barrier between dreams and reality. From that moment on, every dream, every glance, every heartbeat carried the weight of a connection that was eternal, tender, and true. The days that followed were gentle and golden, each one flowing seamlessly into the next. Elena found herself waking with the soft memory of dreams lingering on her lips, while the sun cast its warm light over the village streets and the sea shimmered like liquid silver. She and Adrien began to see each other more often, not by chance, but as if the world itself had arranged it, as if every small step had been guided by invisible threads. They walked through the winding paths of the village, sharing quiet laughter and soft conversation, their words carrying a rhythm that echoed the gentle pulse of the sea. Adrien painted while Elena read aloud from her notebook, the sunlight catching on the inked pages and illuminating the words as if they were meant to be seen together. Even simple gestures, like his hand brushing against hers, or the way he looked at her when she smiled, carried the echo of 1,000 dreams, familiar and tender. One evening, they found themselves walking along the shore, the waves whispering secrets at their feet. The sky was painted in delicate shades of rose and gold, the horizon blurred between day and night, as if the world were holding its breath for them. "Do you ever wonder if this?" Adrien's voice was soft, almost hesitant. "If this is all real, or if we are still dreaming?" Elena smiled, resting her hand in his. "I think the dreams brought us here," she said gently. "They were never only visions. They were invitations, paths leading us to this moment." Her voice was a whisper, but it felt as if the ocean itself had heard her. They sat together on a smooth rock, the sound of the waves weaving a lullaby around them. Adrien traced circles on her palm, slow and deliberate, while Elena felt the warmth of his presence seep into her bones. It was not a love hurried or loud, it was patient, unfolding like the tide, gentle yet unstoppable. The threads of past lives, of dreams, of unspoken promises, all wove together in the quiet rhythm of their hearts. At sunset, the sky deepened into hues of purple and silver, stars beginning to blink awake. Adrien turned to Elena, his gaze steady and luminous. "I've dreamed of this," he murmured, "all of it. But now I know, even waking life cannot separate us." Elena leaned her head against his shoulder, listening to the steady beat of his heart. The wind carried the scent of the sea and distant blossoms, a soft perfume that felt like a memory of the Garden of Light. Here, in the waking world, she realized that love was not only a matter of heartbeats and words, it was a presence, subtle and enduring, as tangible as the sand beneath her feet and the moonlight on the waves. The village around them grew quiet, the lamps flickering to life along the streets, and the night seemed to fold around them like a warm blanket. Elena closed her eyes for a moment, breathing in the gentle, unspoken promise of this love. It was a love that had crossed time and dreams, that had been whispered through the petals of a mystical garden and carried on the wings of memory. And as they rose to leave the shore, hand in hand, the moonlight followed them, silvering the path before them. For the first time, Elena knew with quiet certainty that love was not merely a dream, nor a fleeting glimpse of the heart. It was real, it was here, and it was theirs to live, slowly, tenderly, as the world held its breath and watched the story unfold. That night, the village was wrapped in deep, velvet darkness, the waves murmuring softly against the shore. Elena lay in her bed, the old book resting on her chest, the moonlight spilling in gentle streams across her room. Her eyes closed, and soon she drifted into the familiar warmth of sleep, as if the dream itself had been waiting for her return. The garden appeared once more radiant than ever. The petals glowed like lanterns suspended in air, the scent of blossoms wrapping her in a gentle embrace. The stars above shimmered in patterns that seemed to tell stories older than time, and the young man, Adrien, stood before her, as if the universe itself had shaped him from light and memory. He reached out his hand, and without hesitation, Elena took it. The warmth of his touch flowed through her, steady and comforting, as though the dream had become a tangible thread connecting their hearts. "Do you remember what I told you?" Adrien's voice was soft, a whisper that felt like the tide brushing against the shore. Elena nodded, her heart beating in quiet rhythm with his. "This is not only a dream," he continued. "It is a promise. A promise that no matter the distance, no matter the time, love will always find us. Even when we wake, even when we walk separate paths, the heart remembers." Tears gathered in Elena's eyes, but they were gentle, shimmering with the reflection of starlight. "I remember," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I remember the garden, the flower, the feeling that brought me here, and I know that I am with you now, in every moment that matters." The garden shimmered, petals swirling like a gentle wind, stars falling softly into the blooms. Time seemed suspended, holding this moment for eternity. Adrien drew her closer, their foreheads touching, breaths mingling, hearts echoing in the same quiet, steady rhythm. "You see," he said, "whether in dreams or in life, we are together. The threads that carried us here are unbreakable, and from now on, we walk hand in hand, waking or sleeping, dreaming or alive." Elena smiled, letting herself be enveloped by the warmth of his words, by the certainty of his presence. For the first time, there was no doubt, no hesitation, only the soft, enduring knowledge that their souls had always been intertwined. The garden began to fade gently, petals dissolving into light, leaving only the memory of warmth, of love, and of a promise kept. Elena awoke to the silver glow of the moon, the soft waves whispering below and beside her. Adrien's hand found hers once more in the waking world. They looked at each other, eyes full of recognition, tenderness, and quiet joy. The dreams had led them here, but now their love existed fully, tangibly, in the world around them. Hand in hand, they walked toward the sea, the moonlight casting a path of silver upon the sand. And in that gentle night, with the stars watching silently above, Elena realized that some dreams are not meant to fade upon waking. They are meant to guide the heart, to find love and to promise that it will endure. The waves whispered softly, the garden of light glimmered in memory, and the hearts of Elena and Adrien beat together, steady and true. For love, as the dream had promised, had found them, and it would never let go.